I still smelled jet fuel on my clothes, despite scrubbing my skin raw in the shower. The stench clings to me like a bad memory, mixing with the antiseptic smell of the bandages wrapped around my palms. The cuts sting whenever I flex my fingers. Small price to pay, I suppose. Not everyone gets to say they've pulled someone from a sinking private jet and lived to tell the tale. I curl deeper into my threadbare couch, wincing as my muscles protest. Everything hurts. The local news drones on, volume barely audible in my small lakeside cabin. They're still covering yesterday's crash, showing aerial footage of what remains of the sleek aircraft half submerged in Lake Michigan's murky waters. The identity of the passenger remains undisclosed, the reporter says, her practiced voice betraying no emotion. Authorities are investigating the cause of the crash. I snort, reaching for my lukewarm tea with bandaged hands. They don't need to investigate. I saw what happened. The sudden descent, the terrifying impact, the water rushing in. My cabin sits isolated at the edge of the lake, a forgotten place inherited from my grandfather. It's nothing special. Weathered wood, creaking floors, and windows that rattle when the wind blows. But the location, just a quarter-mile from where the jet went down, made all the difference yesterday. I was collecting driftwood when I heard the engine sputtering. Looking up, I watched in horror as the sleek private jet, gleaming white against the gray clouds, descended at a sickening angle toward the lake. The impact was deafening, metal tearing, water splashing, a sound I'll never forget. I don't remember running to my boat. Don't remember paddling out with desperate strokes. Don't remember the cold water soaking through my clothes as I waded toward the rapidly sinking fuselage. But I remember his face, the man trapped inside, blood streaming from a gash on his forehead, dark eyes locking with mine through the fractured window. I remember the weight of him as I dragged him from the wreckage, how his expensive suit felt against my arms, the metallic scent of blood mixing with cologne that probably cost more than my monthly income. I remember his ragged breathing against my neck as I hauled him to shore, his mumbled words in what sounded like Italian. The paramedics arrived quickly after I called 911 from my cabin. He was barely conscious by then, lying on my worn rug, water pooling beneath him. Before they took him away, his hand caught my wrist with surprising strength. "Your name," he demanded, his voice accented but clear. "Ellie," I'd answered. Ellie Mercer. His eyes, dark as the deepest part of the lake, had held mine. "I won't forget this, Ellie Mercer." Then they'd loaded him into the ambulance, and he was gone. I gave my statement to the police, declined a trip to the hospital despite the cuts on my hands, and retreated into my solitude. Just another day in my unremarkable life. Until now. The crunch of tires on gravel jerks me from my thoughts. Setting down my mug, I move to the window, pushing aside the thin curtain. My heart stutters. 5 black SUVs with tinted windows roll up my narrow driveway, parking in a precise formation that blocks any exit. Men in dark suits emerge from the first and last vehicles, scanning the area with practiced efficiency. They move like wolves, predatory, alert, dangerous. From the center SUV, a driver emerges, circling around to open the rear door. I hold my breath, a strange certainty gripping me. I know who will step out before I see him. And there he is, standing tall, despite what must be considerable pain, his posture commanding even in recovery. He's traded yesterday's ruined suit for another, charcoal gray, impeccably tailored to broad shoulders. A thin bandage crosses his temple, and he moves with the careful precision of someone hiding considerable pain. He surveys my humble cabin, and I shrink back from the window, heart hammering against my ribs. What is he doing here? How did he find me? The police report, I realize. My name and address would be on it. 3 sharp knocks on my door make me flinch. For one wild moment, I consider not answering, pretending I'm not home, but the curtain moved. He saw me. And something tells me this isn't a man accustomed to being ignored. With trembling hands, I unlock the door and pull it open, keeping my body partially hidden behind it like a shield. Miss Mercer. His voice is deeper than I remember, his accent wrapping around my name like silk. His eyes, God, those eyes, travel over me, cataloging my worn sweatpants, oversized university hoodie, damp hair, and bandaged hands. You're hurt. Not a question. A statement tinged with something that sounds almost like anger. Just some cuts, I manage, my voice embarrassingly small, from the, window glass. When I pulled you out. His jaw tightens. One of the men hovering behind him steps forward, murmuring something in Italian. My visitor dismisses him with a slight gesture without taking his eyes off me. I am Alessandro Vitucci, he says. The name registers dimly. I've seen it in newspapers, heard it whispered on local news. Vitucci Enterprises, shipping, real estate, rumors of other darker businesses. Oh God. May I come in? He asks, though it's clearly not a request. I step back, opening the door wider, suddenly acutely aware of how shabby my home must look to someone like him. The worn furniture, the patched quilt thrown over the couch, the mismatched dishes drying by the sink. My life laid bare in all its struggling glory. Alessandro Vitucci steps into my home, bringing with him an aura of power that makes my small cabin seem even smaller. 2 men follow, positioning themselves discreetly by the door. The others remain outside. I came to thank you personally, he says, his gaze intense enough to burn. Not many would risk themselves for a stranger. Anyone would have done the same, I mumble. A complete lie. No one else lives within miles of this stretch of shoreline. His lips curve slightly. We both know that's not true. He moves further into my living room, taking in the space with those observant eyes. I resist the urge to apologize for the humble surroundings. You live here alone? The question catches me off guard. Yes, I admit, then immediately regret sharing this information. Something flickers across his face. Satisfaction? Relief? No family nearby? My parents died years ago. There's just me. Why am I telling him this? Something about his presence demands honesty. He nods, wincing slightly as the movement aggravates his injury. Without thinking, I step forward. You should sit. You've got a concussion, probably. The paramedics said. I'm fine, he interrupts, but allows me to guide him to the couch. He sits with a grace that makes even my sagging furniture look expensive. Can I get you anything? Water? Tea? My grandmother would be proud. Hospitality even in the face of intimidation. No. His eyes haven't left me since he arrived. But I would like to discuss something with you. One of his men clears his throat discreetly. Sir, the area is secure, but we should minimize exposure. Alessandro's jaw tightens. Then, secure it better. His tone brooks no argument. The men exchange glances, then one speaks into his wrist communicator. Outside, I hear the other SUVs repositioning. Miss Mercer, Alessandro says, drawing my attention back to him. Your actions yesterday saved my life. I don't take such debts lightly. There's no debt, I say quickly. Really, I just did what anyone would. You risked your life for mine, he cuts in, voice hardening. That creates a bond, a responsibility. A chill runs down my spine. I don't understand. The crash was not an accident. His voice is eerily calm. The plane was tampered with. Had you not been there, I would have died. That makes you both valuable to me and potentially endanger yourself. The room seems to tilt. Danger? I'm nobody. I live out here alone. I teach piano to kids in town 3 days a week. I'm not involved in whatever this is. You became involved the moment you pulled me from that water, he says implacably. And now I find myself in the unexpected position of being concerned for your safety. I appreciate the warning, I say carefully, but I'll be fine. This place is isolated, and nobody knows I was involved except the local police. His smile is cold. If I could find you so easily, others can too. I sink into the armchair across from him, suddenly exhausted. What are you suggesting? I'm not suggesting anything, Miss Mercer. I'm telling you that you'll be coming with me. The words hang in the air between us. Excuse me? Until I determine who was behind the attempt on my life, you will remain under my protection. That's kidnapping, I stammer, a flare of panic rising. Alessandro leans forward, wincing slightly at the movement. It's protection. There is a difference. I'm not going anywhere with you. I don't know you. You know enough to risk your life saving mine, he counters. And now I'm returning the favor. By forcing me to leave my home, by ensuring you live to return to it. His voice softens marginally. This isn't a request, Ellie. Pack what you need for a few weeks. A few weeks? I stand abruptly, anger temporarily overriding fear. You can't just upend my life like this. I have students, responsibilities, all of which can be managed from a distance. He rises to his feet, towering over me. Your alternative is that I post guards here, disrupting your life even more. My men are efficient but not inconspicuous. I look at the suited men flanking my door, imagining them stationed permanently around my small cabin, watching my every move. A prison of a different sort. Why not just leave guards then? Why take me away? Something flashes in his eyes, something possessive and intense. Because I prefer to keep what's mine close. His words send an inappropriate shiver down my spine. I'm not yours. I'm not anyone's. You saved my life, he says simply, as if that explains everything. In my world, that creates a bond that cannot be broken. You are now under my protection, whether you wish it or not. One of the guards receives a message through his earpiece and murmurs something to Alessandro in rapid Italian. His expression darkens. We need to move, he says to me. Now. Why? What's happening? Someone just accessed the police report from yesterday. They know your name, this address. His hand closes around my upper arm, not painfully but with unmistakable strength. We don't have time to debate this further. My mind races. Could he be telling the truth? Is someone really coming for me, or is this an elaborate abduction? I can't just... A distant sound cuts me off. A car engine, approaching fast. Alessandro's expression hardens. That's not one of mine. He turns to his men. Secure the perimeter. They move with practiced efficiency, one disappearing outside while the other positions himself at the window, hand inside his jacket. Alessandro's grip on my arm tightens. Bedroom? I point wordlessly, and he steers me down the short hallway into my small bedroom. The indignity of having this man in my most private space barely registers through my mounting panic. Pack. Necessities only, he orders, releasing me to check the windows, drawing the curtains closed. This is insane, I protest weakly, even as I pull my old duffel bag from under the bed. You can't just... I can, and I will. His voice leaves no room for argument. I protect what's mine, Ellie. And yesterday, you made yourself mine. The possessiveness in his tone should terrify me. Instead, it sends a confusing heat through my veins, even as my rational mind screams in protest. What is wrong with me? I throw clothes haphazardly into the bag. Jeans, shirts, underwear, not caring that he can see everything. My hands shake so badly I can barely zip the duffel closed. A sharp crack from outside makes us both freeze. Alessandro is at the window in an instant, peering through a small gap in the curtains. Time's up, he says grimly. Stay behind me. He draws a gun from inside his jacket. A sleek, deadly-looking thing that makes this nightmare suddenly, horribly real. This man is dangerous. Everything about him screams it, and now I'm trapped between him and some unseen threat outside. What have I done? I saved a man's life, and in return, my own has been hijacked. As Alessandro takes my hand and pulls me toward the door, I realize with sickening clarity that I've made a terrible mistake. I should have let the lake take him, but it's too late for regrets now. The Mafia boss's grip is firm as he leads me into whatever darkness awaits, his body a shield between me and the world. And the most terrifying part? Some small, twisted part of me feels safer with him than without him. Alessandro moves with lethal grace through my small cabin, gun held low, but ready. His injured state doesn't seem to hinder him as he guides me with his free hand pressed against the small of my back. The touch burns through my thin hoodie. Stay close, he murmurs, his breath warm against my ear. If I tell you to drop, you drop. Understand? I nod mutely, fear closing my throat. The guard at the window signals something to Alessandro, who responds with a curt nod. 3 men approaching from the east, he tells me, voice eerily calm. 2 more circling from the lakeside. Who are they? I manage to ask. His expression darkens. Rivals. People who want me dead. And they want me because your leverage. A witness. A way to get to me. His eyes lock with mine. I won't let that happen. We reach the front door, where the second guard waits, speaking rapidly into his communicator in Italian. Outside, I can hear the precise movements of Alessandro's men taking positions. On my signal, we move directly to the center vehicle. Alessandro instructs me. Don't stop. Don't look around. Just move. I clutch my duffel bag tighter, nodding. The reality of the situation crashes over me in waves. 24 hours ago, my biggest concern was whether I'd make rent this month. Now I'm caught in what feels like a war zone. Alessandro touches his earpiece, listening. His jaw tightens. Change of plans. They've blocked the main drive. He turns to me, expression intense. There's a path to the lake from your property? Yes, through the back, but we'll take the boat, he decides. Matteo, bring the second team around to the dock. Prepare for water extraction. The guard nods, relaying the orders. Alessandro turns back to me. The path. Show me. I lead him through the kitchen to the back door, which opens onto a small wooden deck. Beyond it, a narrow dirt path winds through sparse trees down to my humble dock where my aluminum fishing boat sits. That's your boat? Alessandro asks, skepticism evident. It got me to you yesterday, I remind him. Something like respect flashes across his face before he's all business again. It'll have to do. He speaks into his earpiece. Luca, create a diversion at the front. Give us 60 seconds. A sudden burst of gunfire erupts from the front of the cabin. I flinch violently, a small cry escaping my lips. Alessandro's arm wraps around my shoulders, steadying me. Now, he says. And suddenly we're running. My duffel bag bouncing painfully against my hip as we sprint down the path toward the dock. My lungs burn and my legs tremble. But Alessandro's grip keeps me upright and moving. Behind us, more gunshots punctuate the air, followed by shouting. I don't look back. We reach the dock, and Alessandro pushes me into the boat before jumping in himself. His movements are fluid despite his injuries, the gun never wavering as he scans our surroundings. One of his men appears, sliding into the boat with us. Keys, Alessandro demands. My hands shake so badly I can barely retrieve them from my pocket. He takes them gently, starts the motor with practiced ease, and then we're skimming across the lake's surface, spray hitting my face. Only then do I look back at my cabin, my home, my sanctuary, now reduced to a battlefield. Dark figures move in the trees surrounding it. A window shatters. More gunshots. They'll destroy everything, I whisper. Alessandro's eyes find mine. Things can be replaced, Ellie. You cannot. We speed across the lake, putting distance between us and the chaos. The guard, Matteo, I think, speaks quietly but urgently to Alessandro, who nods, adjusting our course slightly. Where are we going? I ask, voice carried away by the wind. Somewhere safe, is all he says. After about 15 minutes, a sleek black speedboat appears, approaching from the north. For one terrifying moment, I think it's the pursuers, but Alessandro relaxes marginally. Our extraction, he explains. The boats draw alongside each other with expert precision. 2 more suited men wait in the larger vessel. Within moments, I'm being handed across the gap between boats, my duffel following. Alessandro comes last, giving instructions to Matteo, who remains in my small boat. He'll dispose of it, Alessandro tells me, seeing my confusion. Too easy to track. That's my boat, I protest weakly. I can't afford to replace it. His expression softens marginally. You'll be compensated for everything, Ellie. I promise you that. The speedboat surges forward with much greater power than my little aluminum craft. We're moving too fast for conversation now, the wind whipping my hair across my face. Alessandro sits beside me, one arm around my shoulders, ostensibly to stabilize me, but feeling more like a claim of ownership. I should be terrified. I should be fighting, screaming, demanding to be taken back. Instead, I find myself leaning into his solid warmth, the events of the past 24 hours catching up with me in a wave of exhaustion. We travel for nearly an hour, following the coastline before turning toward what appears to be a private marina. Massive yachts and sailboats line the docks, each more expensive than the last. We pull up to the largest, a gleaming white vessel that must be at least 100 feet long. Home for now, Alessandro says, helping me to my feet. I stare up at the massive yacht. This is yours? One of several. He says it without arrogance, simply stating a fact. Crew members materialize, taking my duffel, helping us aboard. Alessandro keeps his hand at the small of my back as we ascend to the deck, his touch both reassuring and possessive. The interior of the yacht is all gleaming wood and plush furnishings, more luxurious than any hotel I've ever seen. Alessandro guides me to a sitting area, gesturing for me to take a seat on a cream-colored sofa that probably costs more than my yearly income. "You're safe now," he tells me, sitting across from me. His men disperse discreetly, leaving us alone. Only then do I fall apart, the adrenaline crash hitting me like a physical blow. My hands shake uncontrollably, tears welling in my eyes. My home, I choke out. My life. Everything I have is there. Alessandro leans forward, taking my trembling hands in his. "I will replace everything that was lost. I will build you a new home if necessary." "You don't understand," I say, anger filtering through the shock. "I don't want your money, or your protection, or a new home. I want my life back, my privacy, my independence." His thumbs trace circles on my bandaged palms, surprisingly gentle. "Your old life ended the moment you pulled me from that lake, Ellie. I'm sorry for that, but it's the truth. So what happens now? You keep me prisoner on this fancy boat? For how long?" His expression hardens. "You are not a prisoner. You are under my protection. What's the difference if I can't leave?" "The difference," he says slowly, "is intent. I don't want to control you. I want to keep you alive." A crew member appears with a tray holding water, fruit, and what looks like expensive chocolates. Alessandro dismisses him with a nod, then pours me a glass of water. "Drink," he orders softly. "You're in shock." I take the glass, more to have something to do with my hands than out of thirst. The water is cold and somehow tastes expensive. "How badly are you hurt?" I ask suddenly, noticing the tightness around his eyes that betrays his pain. "From the crash." He seems surprised by the question. "Concussion, 2 cracked ribs, various cuts and bruises." He shrugs as if these are insignificant inconveniences. "You should be resting, not abducting random women and getting into shootouts." A surprised laugh escapes him, rich and warm. It transforms his face, softening the dangerous edges. "I've had worse injuries and done more strenuous things, I assure you." I set down the water glass. "Who were those people? At my cabin?" His amusement vanishes. "Employees of a business associate who would prefer I was no longer in the picture." "A business associate," I repeat flatly. "You mean another criminal?" His eyes narrow slightly. "You have certain ideas about who I am." "You're Alessandro Vitucci. Everyone in Chicago knows what that name means." "And what does it mean?" he asks, voice dangerously soft. I swallow hard. Mafia, organized crime, dangerous. He doesn't deny it. My family has interests across many industries, some more traditional than others. "Don't sugarcoat it for me," I say with sudden boldness. "If I'm caught up in this, I deserve the truth." He studies me for a long moment, then nods. "Very well. Yes, part of my business involves what you might call organized crime. I control much of the shipping into and out of Chicago. I have arrangements with local businesses, politicians, and other stakeholders to ensure operations run smoothly." "You mean you threaten and bribe people?" His lips quirk. "I prefer to think of it as incentivized cooperation. Violence is inefficient, Ellie. I use it only when necessary." "Like today?" "Like today," he agrees solemnly. "When someone tries to kill me, then yes, I respond accordingly." I look away, trying to process everything. Through the large windows, I can see we're already moving, the marina receding behind us. "Where are we going now?" "To my lake house. It's secure, remote, and comfortable." "For how long?" "Until I eliminate the threat." His tone leaves no doubt about what eliminate means. A shiver runs through me. "And then what? You just let me go back to my life, pretend none of this happened?" Something flashes in his eyes. Possessiveness, desire, determination. I can't quite identify it. "We'll discuss that when the time comes." A man in a suit appears at the doorway, clearing his throat discreetly. "Sir, a moment." Alessandro excuses himself, stepping aside to speak in hushed tones with his employee. I take the opportunity to really look at him in the yacht's bright lighting. Despite his injuries, he moves with controlled power. His suit fits him perfectly, highlighting broad shoulders and a trim waist. The bandage at his temple doesn't diminish his striking features: strong jaw, straight nose, those intense dark eyes. He's handsome in a dangerous, untouchable way. I catch myself staring and look away quickly, heat rising to my cheeks. What is wrong with me? This man has effectively kidnapped me, destroyed my home, upended my life, and I'm admiring how he looks in a suit. He returns, face grim. The men who came for us burned your cabin. The words hit me like a physical blow. What? I'm sorry, Ellie, it's gone. My home, my parents' photos, my grandmother's quilt, my piano. Everything I owned in this world reduced to ashes. I stand on shaky legs. I need to see. Alessandro blocks my path, hands gentle but firm on my shoulders. There's nothing to see but ruins, and it's not safe to return. You don't understand, I say, my voice cracking. Everything I had was there, all my memories, my whole life. His hands moved to cup my face, forcing me to meet his gaze. And you would have burned with it had we not left when we did. Is that what you want? Of course not, but material things can be replaced, he says firmly. You cannot. A sob builds in my chest, and to my horror, it escapes before I can suppress it. The tears come next, hot and unstoppable. Alessandro hesitates only a moment before pulling me against his chest, one hand cradling the back of my head. I'm sorry, he murmurs into my hair. I truly am. This wasn't supposed to touch you. I should push him away. He's the reason my life is in ruins. But his embrace is solid and warm, and I'm so tired of being alone, of carrying everything by myself. So I let myself cry against his expensive shirt, soaking it with tears while he holds me, murmuring soothing words in Italian. When the storm of tears finally subsides, I pull back, embarrassed. I'm sorry. I don't usually fall apart like that. You've had an extraordinary 24 hours, he says, his thumb gently wiping a lingering tear from my cheek. The tenderness of the gesture catches me off guard. Anyone would be overwhelmed. His phone buzzes, and he glances at it, expression hardening. We'll reach the lake house in about an hour. You should rest until then. I don't think I can sleep. Try, he insists. There's a cabin down the hall, first door on the right. It has everything you need. I nod, suddenly desperate to be alone, to process everything without his overwhelming presence. He escorts me to the cabin door, his hand once again at the small of my back. The cabin is larger than my entire living room was, with a queen-sized bed covered in what looks like silk sheets. A door leads to a private bathroom with marble fixtures. My duffel bag sits at the foot of the bed, looking pathetically out of place in the opulent surroundings. Rest, Alessandro says from the doorway. I'll wake you when we arrive. Before I can respond, he closes the door, leaving me alone in the luxurious cabin. I sink onto the edge of the bed, my mind replaying the horrific events of the day. My home is gone, my possessions destroyed, my life as I knew it, over. And the man responsible for all of it, the dangerous criminal who has taken control of my existence, is the same man whose life I saved. The same man who looks at me with that unsettling mix of protectiveness and possession. The same man whose touch sends inexplicable shivers down my spine. I curl up on the silk sheets, still fully clothed, and close my eyes. Despite everything, exhaustion pulls me under, into a darkness where Alessandro Vitucci's dark gaze follows me even in dreams. A gentle knock wakes me from troubled dreams. For a disorienting moment, I think I'm back in my cabin, that the past day has been nothing but a nightmare. Then my hands brush against silk sheets, and reality crashes back. Ellie? Alessandro's voice comes through the door. We've arrived. I sit up, wincing at the stiffness in my muscles. My reflection in the cabin's mirror shows a woman I barely recognize. Hair tangled, eyes puffy from crying, clothes rumpled. I splash cold water on my face in the marble bathroom, run fingers through my hair, and take a deep breath. When I open the door, Alessandro is waiting, leaning against the opposite wall. He's changed into fresh clothes, dark jeans and a black sweater that looks casually expensive. The bandage on his temple is smaller now, revealing the edge of what will likely become a scar. His eyes travel over me assessingly. Better? No, I answer honestly, but I'm functional. Something like approval flickers in his expression. Good. Come, we're disembarking. The yacht has docked at a private pier extending from manicured grounds. Beyond, a massive house, more like a mansion, rises against the backdrop of dense trees. The structure is modern, all glass and stone, imposing yet somehow elegant. This is your lake house? I ask incredulously as we descend to the dock. One of my properties, he confirms. Remote enough to be secure, close enough to Chicago to conduct business. The grounds are crawling with security personnel, some obvious in their dark suits, others more discreet in casual clothing with telltale earpieces. All of them defer to Alessandro with respectful nods as we pass. Inside, the house is a testament to wealth and taste. Soaring ceilings, museum-quality art, furnishings that manage to be both minimalist and luxurious. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook the lake, where the late afternoon sun casts golden light across the water. Your room is upstairs, Alessandro says, gesturing to a sweeping staircase. You'll find everything you need there, new clothes, toiletries. If something is missing, ask Marina. As if summoned, a woman in her 50s appears. She has silver-streaked dark hair pulled into a neat bun and intelligent eyes that miss nothing. This is Marina, Alessandro introduces. She runs the household. Anything you need, she can provide. Marina offers a polite smile. Welcome, Miss Mercer. I've prepared your suite. If you'd like to refresh yourself before dinner, I can show you the way. I glance at Alessandro, who nods encouragingly. Go. We'll talk over dinner. Marina leads me up the staircase and down a long hallway to a set of double doors. She opens them to reveal a suite that's larger than my entire cabin was. Mr. Vitucci requested our best guest accommodation for you, she explains, showing me through a sitting area to the bedroom beyond. A king-sized bed dominates the space, facing windows that offer a spectacular view of the lake. An ensuite bathroom gleams with marble and crystal. There are fresh clothes in the wardrobe, Marina continues, opening doors to reveal a walk-in closet filled with garments still bearing price tags. Mr. Vitucci had them brought in this afternoon. I hope the sizes are correct. I touch a silk blouse, eyes widening at the designer label. These must have cost a fortune. Marina's expression remains professionally neutral. Mr. Vitucci is generous with those under his protection. The phrase sends a chill down my spine. Under his protection. Like I'm his property. Dinner will be served at 7, Marina informs me. The dining room is downstairs, past the main sitting room. Shall I come to escort you? No, I say quickly. I can find my way. Thank you. After Marina leaves, I explore the suite, feeling increasingly out of place among such luxury. The bathroom features a rainfall shower, and a tub big enough for 3 people. The toiletries are from brands I've only seen in magazines. I shower, the hot water easing some of the tension from my body. Wrapped in a plush bathrobe, I survey the closet of new clothes. Every item is high-end, tasteful, and exactly my size. How Alessandro knew my measurements is a question I prefer not to contemplate. I select the most modest outfit I can find, dark jeans, a simple cream sweater, and leather flats. Even these simple items probably cost more than a month's rent on my now-destroyed cabin. At precisely 7, I make my way downstairs, following the sound of voices to the dining room. Alessandro is there, speaking with a man in a suit who quickly excuses himself when I enter. Alessandro turns, his eyes warming as they take me in. You look rested, he says, pulling out a chair for me at the massive dining table. The suite is excessive, I say, sitting reluctantly. His lips quirk. You'd prefer less comfort? I'd prefer to be home. But since that's no longer an option, I'd at least prefer not to feel like a charity case. He takes the seat at the head of the table, close enough that I can smell his cologne. Something expensive and subtle. The clothes, the room. These are not charity, Ellie. They are necessities. Designer jeans are not necessities. Quality is a necessity, he counters. And you deserve quality. Before I can argue, servers appear with the first course. Some kind of delicate seafood appetizer arranged like artwork on fine china. Wine is poured into crystal glasses. Alessandro waits until we're alone again before speaking. I know you have questions. Dozens, I confirm, picking at the food I have no appetite for. starting with how long you intend to keep me here. Until it's safe for you to leave, he says simply. And when will that be? When the people who wish to harm me are no longer in a position to do so. His tone leaves no doubt about what that means. I set down my fork. You're talking about killing them. I'm talking about ensuring our safety. He sips his wine. But yes, if that requires elimination, so be it. Our safety, I repeat. Yesterday, I was just a piano teacher living by the lake. Now I'm caught in some kind of Mafia war. You became involved the moment you saved me, he says, his dark eyes intent on mine. That created a connection between us that my enemies will exploit if given the chance. So I'm what? Collateral damage? No, he says sharply. You are under my protection. There's a difference. It doesn't feel different from where I'm sitting. Alessandro leans forward. If I had left you at your cabin, you would be dead now. Is that what you would prefer? I look away, unable to hold his intense gaze. Of course not. Then trust that I know what's best in this situation. The presumption irritates me. I don't even know you. Why should I trust you? Because I have no reason to harm you and every reason to keep you safe. He reaches across the table, his fingers brushing mine. You saved my life, Ellie. In my world, that creates a debt that cannot be repaid. I don't want your debt, I say, pulling my hand away. I want my freedom. Freedom without life is meaningless, he counters. Let me ensure you keep both. The servers return with the main course. Perfectly cooked steak with roasted vegetables. The food is undoubtedly excellent, but I can barely taste it. Tell me about your life, Alessandro says suddenly. Before yesterday. The request catches me off guard. Why do you care? Because you're important to me now, he says simply. I want to know everything about you. The possessiveness in his tone sends an involuntary shiver through me. There's not much to tell. I teach piano to kids in town 3 days a week. I read a lot. I go for walks by the lake. It's a quiet life. And before that? How did you end up alone in a cabin on the lake? I hesitate, unused to talking about myself. My grandparents left me the cabin. After my parents died, car accident 5 years ago, I needed somewhere quiet, somewhere I could heal. His expression softens. I'm sorry about your parents. It was a long time ago, I say automatically, though the pain never really fades. And no one special in your life? He asks, his tone carefully casual. I almost laugh at the transparency of the question. No. Like I said, it's a quiet life. Was, he corrects gently. It was a quiet life. The reminder of all I've lost hits me anew. Yes. Was. Alessandro studies me for a long moment. I will compensate you for everything that was destroyed. The cabin, the boat, your possessions. Everything can be replaced. Not everything, I say quietly, thinking of my mother's wedding ring, my father's watch, the family photos that can never be recovered. No, he acknowledges, surprising me with his perceptiveness. Not the things that truly matter. For those losses, I am genuinely sorry. His sincerity catches me off guard. Before I can respond, his phone buzzes. He checks it, his expression hardening. Excuse me, he says, rising. Business that cannot wait. He steps away from the table, speaking rapidly in Italian into his phone. His tone is commanding, brooking no argument from whoever is on the other end. When he returns, his face is like stone. I need to go out for a few hours. Out? I echo. It's nearly 9 o'clock. Business doesn't adhere to conventional hours, he says, finishing his wine. You'll be safe here. My men are posted throughout the property. So I am a prisoner, I say flatly. His eyes narrow. You are a guest who happens to be in danger. The restrictions on your movement are for your protection, not my amusement. When will you be back? The question seems to please him, a slight smile softening his stern features. Missing me already, Ellie? Hardly, I scoff. I just want to know how long I'll be locked in this gilded cage alone. Not alone. Marina is here, as are at least a dozen security personnel. He steps closer, suddenly in my personal space, but I'll return before dawn. Try to get some rest. Before I can react, he bends down, his lips brushing my cheek in the whisper of a kiss. The contact is brief but electric. sending heat coursing through my veins. "Be good while I'm gone," he murmurs, his accent thicker than usual. Then he's striding away, leaving me flustered and confused at the dining table. I touch my cheek where his lips had been, angry at myself for the flutter of something dangerously close to anticipation in my stomach. I spend the next few hours exploring the parts of the house I can access. Many doors are locked, presumably leading to Alessandro's private spaces or business areas. The security staff watch me discreetly as I wander, never interfering but always present. In the library, a 2-story room lined with books that would make any bibliophile weep with joy, I find a baby grand piano nestled in a bay window. My fingers itch to play, to lose myself in music as I've always done when troubled. I sit at the bench, running my fingers lightly over the keys without pressing them. This piano probably costs more than I make in 2 years of teaching. "Do you play?" Marina's voice startles me. I turn to find her watching from the doorway, a tray with tea in her hands. "I teach piano," I explain. "Or I did, before you saved Mr. Vitucci's life," she finishes, setting the tray on a nearby table. "You know about that?" "Everyone in this household knows," she says, pouring tea into a delicate cup. "It's not often someone earns Mr. Vitucci's personal debt." I accept the tea she offers. "You've worked for him long?" 15 years, she confirms. "Since he was a young man taking over from his father." "And what kind of man is he?" I ask, unable to help myself. "Really?" Marina considers the question carefully. "Complex, demanding, ruthlessly efficient in business matters," she pauses, "but loyal to those he considers his own. Generous, even kind in his way." "In his way?" I repeat skeptically. A small smile touches her lips. "Mr. Vitucci lives by a code most people wouldn't understand. Family, honor, obligation. These mean everything to him. And which am I? Family, honor, or obligation? Perhaps all three," she says cryptically. "Play something if you wish." The piano is kept tuned. She leaves me alone with the instrument and my thoughts. After a moment's hesitation, I begin to play. Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, a piece that always soothes me. The piano's tone is magnificent, responsive to the lightest touch. I lose myself in the music, letting my fingers tell the story my heart can't articulate. Confusion, fear, loss, and underneath it all, a strange, forbidden attraction to the dangerous man who has taken control of my life. I play for over an hour, moving from Chopin to Debussy to some of my own compositions. When I finally stop, I realize I have an audience. Several security personnel have found reasons to be near the library, drawn by the music. They disperse quickly when they notice me watching. Exhaustion eventually drives me back to my suite. I change into silk pajamas that were provided among the new clothes and slide between sheets that probably cost more than my old car. Despite the luxury surrounding me, sleep eludes me. I keep thinking about Alessandro, out there in the night, doing God knows what, to God knows whom. Business, he'd called it. But what does business mean to a man like him? Threats, violence, murder, and why does the thought of him returning make my pulse quicken? The light of dawn is just beginning to filter through the windows when I hear my door open quietly. I sit up, clutching the sheets to my chest, heart hammering. Alessandro stands in the doorway, his silhouette unmistakable. He's still dressed in the clothes he wore at dinner, but they look rumpled now. He seems surprised to find me awake. "I didn't mean to disturb you," he says softly. "Couldn't sleep," I admit. "Did you take care of your business?" He moves into the room, stopping at the foot of the bed. "Yes." "Do I want to know what that entailed?" "No." His honesty is somehow more disturbing than a lie would have been. In the dim light, I can see a darkening bruise on his jawline that wasn't there before. There's a small cut across his knuckles. Signs of violence that make his dangerous nature impossible to ignore. "You're hurt," I say, echoing his words to me from the day before. "It's nothing." He dismisses the injuries with a shrug. "Marina said you played tonight. The change of subject is deliberate, but I allow it. Yes, the piano is beautiful. I'm glad it brought you some comfort." He runs a hand through his dark hair, looking suddenly tired. The gesture humanizes him, showing a vulnerability I hadn't seen before. "You should rest," I tell him, You have a concussion, remember? And cracked ribs. A small smile touches his lips. Are you concerned for my well-being, Ellie? I didn't pull you from a sinking plane just to have you collapse from exhaustion, I retort. He laughs softly. Fair enough. He turns to leave, then pauses. Tomorrow will be better, I promise. I don't know what he means by that, but I nod anyway. He seems satisfied, closing the door quietly behind him. I sink back against the pillows, confused by the man who has upended my life. Dangerous, yet protective. Cold, yet considerate. A criminal who plays by his own code of honor. And despite every rational thought screaming caution, I find myself looking forward to tomorrow, to understanding more of the enigma that is Alessandro Vitucci. As dawn breaks fully over the lake, I finally drift into sleep, dreaming of dark eyes and gentle hands with the power to destroy. I wake to sunlight streaming through windows I forgot to close, and the distant sound of voices. For a moment, I lie still, orienting myself to this new reality. The silk sheets, the opulent room, the knowledge that somewhere in this mansion is a dangerous man who has claimed me as his responsibility. A discreet knock at the door precedes Marina's entrance. She carries a tray with coffee and pastries, setting it on a small table by the window. Good morning, Miss Mercer, she says. Mr. Vitucci asked me to let you know he'll be unavailable until this afternoon. Business matters. The way she says it suggests this is a regular occurrence. Thank you, I say, reaching for the coffee gratefully. Is there anything I should do while I wait? The house and grounds are at your disposal, she answers, though I must ask that you remain within the security perimeter, for your safety. Of course, I mutter. My safety. After she leaves, I dress in another of the expensive outfits from the wardrobe, dark jeans and a soft blue cashmere sweater. The clothes fit perfectly, raising again the unsettling question of how Alessandro knew my size. I spend the morning exploring the parts of the mansion I'm allowed to access. The grounds are extensive, with manicured gardens leading down to the private beach. Security personnel maintain a discreet but constant presence, their eyes following me wherever I go. In daylight, I can better appreciate the strategic positioning of the property. Set back from the main road, surrounded by dense trees on 3 sides, with the lake providing a natural barrier on the 4th. Defensible. Isolated. A beautiful prison. I'm drawn back to the piano in the library, losing myself in music for hours. Playing has always been my escape, the one place where I feel completely in control. Now, surrounded by uncertainty, it becomes my sanctuary. I'm deep into a Beethoven sonata when I sense a presence behind me. My fingers falter on the keys. Please don't stop on my account, Alessandro says. I turn to find him standing in the doorway, watching me with an intensity that makes my skin flush. He's dressed more casually today. Dark trousers and a light gray shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing strong forearms. The bruise on his jaw has darkened, and he moves with the careful precision of someone managing pain. How long have you been standing there? I ask. Long enough to know you play beautifully. He steps into the room. Professionally trained? I nod. Juilliard. Before my parents died and I came back to care for my grandmother. Something like respect flickers in his eyes. A significant sacrifice. I shrug, uncomfortable with his perception. Family comes first. On that, we agree completely. He moves closer, examining the piano. This instrument has rarely been played. It suits you. Nothing here suits me, I say, unable to keep the bitterness from my voice. This isn't my world. And yet here you are. His fingers brush the piano's glossy surface, inches from mine. Perhaps fate has other plans for you than a solitary cabin on the lake. The proximity makes my heart race inexplicably. I stand abruptly, needing distance from him. I don't believe in fate. No? He seems amused. Then what do you call the circumstances that put you on that shore exactly when my plane went down? Coincidence? Misfortune, maybe, I suggest dryly. He laughs, a rich sound that transforms his face. You have spirit, Ellie Mercer. I admire that. Before I can formulate a response, a man appears at the library entrance, one of Alessandro's security team. They exchange words in rapid Italian, Alessandro's expression hardening. He turns back to me. I need to take care of something. Join me for lunch afterward. It's phrased as a question but feels like a command. Still, I nod, curious despite myself. Good, he says, his eyes lingering on me a moment longer before he follows his man from the room. An hour later, I find myself on a sun-drenched terrace overlooking the lake, seated across from Alessandro at a table laid for lunch. Crystal glasses catch the light. Fine china gleams. It's surreally beautiful. I took the liberty of having Marina prepare something light, he says, as servers bring out salads and fresh bread. I hope you don't mind. I'm not really in a position to object to anything, am I? The words come out more bitterly than intended. Alessandro sets down his fork. You're not a prisoner here, Ellie. Then I'm free to leave whenever I want? When it's safe, he amends. Which it is not, currently, and I just have to take your word for that. His jaw tightens. The men who burned your home are still searching for you. Would you prefer I let them find you? Put that way, I have no good answer. I focus on my salad instead, which is admittedly delicious. After a few moments of tense silence, Alessandro speaks again, his tone gentler. I understand this is difficult. Your life has been upended through no fault of your own. Through your fault, I correct. He inclines his head, accepting the accusation. Yes, and I intend to make amends for that. How? You can't give me back what I've lost. No, he agrees, but I can ensure your future is secure. I set down my fork with a clatter. I don't want your money. What do you want then? He asks, leaning forward, those dark eyes intent on mine. My freedom. My independence. My life back. The first two you will have again, he promises. The third is impossible. You cannot go back to a life that no longer exists. His honesty, while brutal, is somehow refreshing. At least he doesn't sugarcoat the reality of my situation. Tell me what happened to your parents, he says suddenly. The abrupt change of subject catches me off guard. Why do you care? I want to know you, Ellie. Everything about you. Again. That possessive note in his voice sends an inappropriate shiver through me. There's not much to tell. They were driving home from a concert. A truck driver fell asleep at the wheel. Wrong place, wrong time. I'm sorry, he says, and sounds genuinely sympathetic. Losing family is difficult. Something in his tone suggests personal experience. You've lost someone too. He nods once, his expression closed. My father. 5 years ago. I'm sorry, I echo, surprised by the sincerity of my condolence. Was it natural causes? A hard smile touches his lips. No, in my line of work, few deaths are natural. The reminder of who he is, what he does, creates a chill despite the warm sunshine. And now you run the family business, I say carefully. I do what's necessary to protect what's mine, he says simply, as my father did before me. And what is yours? I dare to ask. Exactly. Territory, his gaze intensifies. People. You now. My breath catches. I am not yours. You saved my life, he counters. That creates a bond, Ellie. In my world, such connections are sacred. Your world, I repeat, not mine. They're the same world now. He reaches across the table, his fingers brushing mine. You just haven't accepted it yet. I pull my hand away, unsettled by the warmth his touch generates. And if I never accept it, you will, he says with calm certainty, in time. Before I can argue further, his phone rings. He checks it, frowning. Excuse me. I need to take this. He steps away from the table, speaking in rapid Italian. Even without understanding the words, I can tell from his tone that something is wrong. When he returns, his expression is grim. I need to go out again. A situation requires my personal attention. Another business matter? I ask, making air quotes. His eyes narrow slightly. Yes, one that concerns your safety as well as mine. That silences my sarcasm. What's happened? The men looking for you have expanded their search. They're getting desperate. He checks his watch. I need to send a message that such desperation is unwise. A chill runs through me at the implications. You're going to hurt someone. I'm going to protect what's mine, he corrects. By whatever means necessary. He stands, straightening his cuffs. I'll be back tonight. Marina will see to your needs until then. Alessandro, I say, surprising myself by using his name for the first time. Be careful. He pauses, looking at me with an unreadable expression. Then, in a move so swift I have no time to react, he bends down and presses his lips to mine in a kiss that's both gentle and possessive. I'll return to you, he promises against my lips, always. Then he's gone, leaving me breathless and confused on the sunlit terrace. I spend the remainder of the day in a state of nervous anticipation, alternating between the piano and wandering the grounds. As night falls, I find myself on the private beach, watching the sunset paint the lake in shades of gold and crimson. One of Alessandro's security men maintains a discreet distance, never letting me out of his sight. I should find it oppressive, but after the events of the past few days, there's a strange comfort in not being alone. Miss Mercer, Marina's voice calls from the path. Dinner is ready. I follow her back to the house, where a solitary place has been set in the dining room. Mr. Vitucci called to say he'll be delayed, she explains. He asked that you not wait up for him. The disappointment I feel is irrational and unwelcome. I eat mechanically, barely tasting the exquisite food. Later, restless and unable to sleep, I return to the library. The house is quiet. Most of the staff retired for the night. Only the security team remains active, patrolling the grounds. I sit at the piano, letting my fingers wander over the keys without direction, my mind full of Alessandro. The intensity of his gaze, the possessive touch of his hands, the unexpected gentleness of his kiss. He's dangerous, a criminal, possibly a killer. I should fear him, hate him for destroying my life. Instead, I find myself watching the door, waiting for his return. It's past midnight when I hear the commotion at the front of the house, vehicles arriving, voices calling out urgently in Italian. I move to the library doorway, peering into the hall. Several of Alessandro's men rush past, their expressions grim. I catch fragments of conversation. Ambush, wounded, doctor, my heart stutters. Alessandro. Something's happened to Alessandro. Without conscious thought, I follow the men, trailing them to a part of the house I haven't been allowed to access before. No one stops me, too focused on the emergency at hand. I reach a large study, just as the doors are flung open. Alessandro strides in, supported by two men. His shirt is torn and blood-soaked, his face pale but composed. Alessandro! His name escapes me in a panicked gasp. He looks up, surprised to see me there. Ellie, you shouldn't be here. You're hurt, I say, moving toward him instinctively. One of his men tries to block my path, but Alessandro waves him away. Let her through. I reach him just as his legs seem to give out. Together with his men, I help lower him onto a leather sofa. What happened? I demand, my hands hovering over his bloodied shirt, afraid to touch and cause more pain. Unexpected resistance, he says, his voice tight with pain but still controlled. Nothing serious. Nothing serious? I repeat incredulously. You're bleeding everywhere. He actually smiles at that. The blood makes it look worse than it is. Just a flesh wound. A man enters carrying what looks like a medical bag. Alessandro speaks to him rapidly in Italian, then turns to me. Ellie, you should go. This won't be pleasant to watch. I'm staying, I say firmly, surprising myself with my resolve. I pulled you from a sinking plane. I think I can handle a little blood. Something like respect flashes in his eyes before pain clouds them again. He nods once, then speaks to his men. They clear the room, leaving only the doctor, Alessandro, and me. The doctor cuts away Alessandro's shirt, revealing a torso that would be impressively muscular if not for the ugly gash running along his side. It's not deep enough to be life-threatening, but it's serious enough to need immediate attention. Without being asked, I move to help, holding supplies for the doctor, wiping away blood, doing whatever I can to make the process easier. Alessandro watches me through pain-narrowed eyes, his expression unreadable. When the doctor begins stitching the wound, Alessandro's hand finds mine. I let him grip it tightly, offering what comfort I can as he endures the procedure without anesthetic. You've done this before, the doctor comments to me in accented English as he works. No, I admit, but I'm good in a crisis. Alessandro laughs, then winces. That she is, he agrees, his eyes never leaving my face. My Valkyrie from the lake. The doctor finishes his work, applies bandages, and gives Alessandro instructions in Italian. After leaving some pills and additional supplies, he departs, closing the door behind him. We're alone now. Alessandro half reclining on the sofa, me perched beside him, our hands still linked. You should be in a hospital, I say. Hospitals require police reports for certain types of injuries, he replies. I prefer discretion. I should let go of his hand, put distance between us. Instead, I find myself asking, what happened out there? His thumb traces circles on my palm. The men hunting you decided to set a trap. It was partially successful. You went after them because of me. I realize with horror. I went after them because they threatened what's mine. He corrects. You, yes, but also my business, my reputation, my family's legacy. And did you resolve the situation? His smile is cold and triumphant. Completely. You won't need to worry about them anymore. I don't want to know what that means. Don't want to envision what happened to those men. You're safe now, he says softly. Truly safe. So I can go? I ask. The question automatic, but lacking conviction. His hand tightens on mine. Is that what you want? To leave? Should reclaim my freedom. Say yes. What's left of my life. Build something new from the ashes. Instead, I look at the man before me. Dangerous, complex, compelling. The man who destroyed my old life and offers something entirely different in its place. I don't know, I answer honestly. His free hand rises to cut my cheek. Stay, Ellie. At least until I heal. Consider it the completion of your rescue mission. I know it's manipulation, subtle and skillful, but I find myself nodding anyway. Until you heal. Relief flashes across his face. So genuine it takes me by surprise. Thank you. I help him to his feet, supporting him as we make our slow way through the house to his bedroom suite. It's even more luxurious than mine, decorated in dark colors and rich textures. Marina appears, helping get Alessandro settled in his massive bed. She brings fresh bandages, water, and his medication, then discreetly withdraws, leaving us alone again. You should rest, I tell him, moving toward the door. Stay, he says, his voice somewhere between a command and a plea. Just stay with me a while. I hesitate, knowing this is another line being crossed, another step deeper into his world, but I find myself returning to his bedside, sitting in the chair beside it. Tell me something about you, he says, his voice already growing drowsy from the medication. Something no one else knows. I consider the request, then offer. I compose music. Nothing professional, just pieces that express things I can't say in words. His eyes, heavy-lidded but intent, stay fixed on mine. Play for me sometime, your own music. Maybe, I allow, oddly touched by the request. What does it sound like? Your music? I think about it. Melancholy, mostly, sometimes hopeful, always searching for something just out of reach. And have you found it yet? What you're searching for? The question feels weighted with meaning beyond its simple words. No, I admit, not yet. His eyes drift closed, then open again with effort. I want to give you everything, Ellie, everything you've lost and more. I never asked for that, I say softly. No, he murmurs, sleep claiming him gradually. That's what makes you different. His breathing deepens as he finally succumbs to exhaustion and medication. I sit watching him, this dangerous man made vulnerable by injury and sleep. I should fear him, should hate him for what he's done to my life. Instead, I find myself reaching out to smooth a lock of dark hair from his forehead, my touch gentle, as if not to wake him. What are you doing to me? Alessandro Vitucci, I whisper to his sleeping form. Outside, the night is quiet. The lake a mirror for the moon. Inside, something shifts and changes, a transformation as inevitable as the tide. I stay by his side until dawn, watching over the devil who's claimed me as his own. Days blur into weeks at Alessandro's lake house. His wound heals slowly, the angry red line gradually fading to a pale scar that joins others marking his body. I stay as promised, telling myself it's to ensure his recovery, ignoring the growing awareness that my reasons have become more complex. We fall into a strange domestic rhythm. Mornings in the library where I play the piano while he works nearby, afternoons on the terrace discussing everything from music to philosophy, evenings sharing meals that grow increasingly comfortable. When business calls him away, I find myself counting the hours until his return. It's a gilded cage, but the door stands increasingly open. No one stops me when I take long walks alone along the private beach. The security remains, but more distant now, a precaution rather than a restriction. The threat has been eliminated, Alessandro tells me one evening as we sit by the fire in his study. You're free to leave whenever you wish. I look up from the book I've been reading, studying his face. He's become easier to read, this dangerous man who's shown me unexpected gentleness. Behind his carefully neutral expression, I see tension, anticipation, the slightest hint of fear. Is that what you want? I ask. For me to leave? His dark eyes meet mine. What I want doesn't matter. You never chose this. I chose to save your life, I remind him. Everything after flowed from that decision. A decision made in innocence, he says. Before you knew who I was, what I am. I close my book, setting it aside. And what are you, Alessandro? He considers the question, swirling amber liquid in his crystal glass. A man who inherited a complicated legacy. A man who protects what's his by whatever means necessary. A man whose world has no place for innocence. Yet here I am, I observe. Here you are, he agrees, his voice softening. The incongruity that keeps me awake at night. We sit in silence for a long moment, the fire crackling between us. So many unspoken things hang in the air. Attraction, complication, impossibility. I've arranged for a new home for you, he says finally. A condo in the city, if you prefer urban living, or another lake property, more secure than your cabin was. Furnished, of course, and a position teaching music at a private academy, should you wish to continue. The generosity is breathtaking, and somehow devastating. He's releasing me, setting me free. It's what I wanted from the beginning. So why does it feel like loss? You've thought of everything, I say, unable to keep the edge from my voice. It's the least I can do, after all you've lost because of me. I stand abruptly, moving to the window. Outside, darkness has fallen, turning the glass into a mirror that reflects the room behind me. In it, I can see Alessandro watching me, his expression guarded. What if I don't want to leave? The words escape before I can consider their implications. In the reflection, I see him go still. Ellie, he says, my name a warning. I turn to face him. What if I've found something here I never expected? He rises, setting his glass aside. Don't say things you'll regret. I've had weeks to think about this, I counter, to understand what I want, and what is that? He asks, his voice carefully controlled. You know what it is. He moves toward me slowly, as if approaching a wild creature that might flee. Say it anyway. I need to hear it. I take a deep breath. I want to stay. With you. He stops an arm's length away. Do you understand what that means? Who I am? What I do? I've seen enough to know the essential truth of you, I answer. The good and the bad. There's more bad than good, he warns. I'm not naive, Alessandro. I know your business involves things I'd rather not examine too closely. But I also know how you treat those under your protection. How you honor your obligations. How you care for what's yours. His expression tightens at my last words. Is that what you want to be? Mine? The possessiveness that once frightened me now sends a different kind of shiver through my body. I already am, I admit. From the moment I pulled you from that lake, he closes the distance between us in 2 swift steps, his hands coming up to frame my face. Be very sure, Ellie, he says, his voice rough with intensity. Because if you stay, I won't let you go again, I'm sure, I whisper. His kiss is nothing like the brief, gentle contact we've shared before. This is possession, claiming, a sealing of promises. His arms wrap around me, pulling me against the hard planes of his body as if he could absorb me into himself. I melt into him, weeks of simmering attraction igniting into something unstoppable. My hands clutch at his shoulders, slide into his hair, learning the feel of him beneath my fingertips. When we finally break apart, both breathless, he rests his forehead against mine. "I've wanted to do that since I first saw you standing on that shore," he confesses. "Even soaking wet and covered in lake mud?" I tease, my heart racing. "Especially then," he says with a smile that transforms his face. "My fierce rescuer, so brave and so beautiful." His hands stroke down my back, holding me close. "You understand this changes everything? That you'll be part of my world now, with all that entails?" "I understand," I say. Though in truth, I know I can't fully comprehend what life with Alessandro will mean. The danger, the power, the responsibility, the shadows, and the light. "There will be rules," he continues. "For your safety, things you must accept without question." I'm not very good at unquestioning acceptance, I warn him. He laughs, the sound rich and genuine. "No, you're not. It's one of the many things I love about you." The word hangs between us, unexpected and profound. Love. Not possession, not obligation, not debt. Love. "Alessandro," I begin, uncertain what to say. He silences me with a gentle finger against my lips. "You don't need to say anything. Not yet. Just stay. Be with me. The rest will come in time." That night he leads me to his bedroom, to his bed. Our coming together is both tender and fierce, acclaiming on both sides. His hands map my body with reverence. My own explore the battlefield of scars that tell the story of his dangerous life. When we finally join, it feels like completion, like finding a piece of myself I never knew was missing. Afterward, lying in his arms as moonlight streams through the windows, I ask the question that's lingered since the beginning. Why me? Of all the people in the world you could have, why me? He's quiet for so long I think he might not answer. Then, his fingers tracing patterns on my bare shoulder, he speaks. "When I was drowning in that lake, certain I would die, you appeared like a vision, not just saving my life, but offering it back to me without expectation, without knowledge of who I was or what I could give you in return." His arms tighten around me. "In my world, Ellie, everything comes with a price. Every favor, every loyalty, every act of kindness, all transactions in an endless ledger of debt and payment." He shifts to look into my eyes. "But not you. You saved me because it was the right thing to do. Pure and simple. Anyone would have done the same," I say, echoing my words from weeks ago. He shakes his head. "No. Most would have looked away, called authorities, left fate to decide. You dove into danger without hesitation." His hand cups my cheek. "In that moment, I knew you were something rare, something I needed to protect, to cherish, to love." The word spoken directly this time fills me with warmth. "Even though I've seen the darkness in your life?" "Perhaps because of it," he admits. "You see it and still choose to stay. Not for wealth or power or security, but for me." I lay my head against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. "What happens now?" "Now," he says, pressing a kiss to my hair. "We build something new. Not your old life, not my old life. Something that belongs to both of us." "Will it be dangerous?" I can't help asking. "At times," he answers honestly. "But you'll be the most protected woman in Chicago. No one will dare touch what Alessandro Vitucci treasures above all else." In the weeks that follow, Alessandro introduces me gradually to his world. I meet his inner circle, men and women who regard me with curious respect. "The woman who saved the boss," they call me, sometimes with awe, sometimes with amusement. He shows me his legitimate businesses, shipping companies, real estate holdings, restaurants, nightclubs. The other aspects of his empire remain in shadow, and I don't press for details. Some boundaries are better left uncrossed. We divide our time between the lake house and his penthouse in the city, a stunning space overlooking Lake Michigan. He arranges for a grand piano to be installed in both homes, and I begin to compose again, my music changing as I change. Still searching, but now finding answers as well. I start teaching again, not at the academy Alessandro arranged, but at a community center in a neighborhood his family has protected for generations. The children there have few opportunities. Music gives them an escape, a voice, a future. Alessandro watches my classes sometimes, leaning in the doorway with an expression that makes my heart swell. Our life isn't perfect. There are dark days when he comes home with that cold look in his eyes, when I know better than to ask where he's been. There are moments when the reality of who he is, what he does, crashes over me in waves of doubt. There are arguments about boundaries, about safety, about the future. But there are beautiful days too. Mornings waking in his arms, afternoons sailing on the lake, evenings hosting dinner parties where I slowly learn to navigate the complex social dynamics of his world. Nights when he holds me like I'm the most precious thing he's ever touched. 6 months after the plane crash that brought us together, Alessandro takes me back to the site of my former cabin. The charred ruins have been cleared away, the land restored and waiting. "What would you like to do with it?" he asks as we stand on the shore where I once pulled him from the lake. "It's not mine anymore," I remind him. The property had been seized due to unpaid taxes after the fire, another complexity of my old life resolved by Alessandro's efficient team. "It is if you want it to be," he says. "I bought it last week." I stare at him, surprised despite everything I know about his tendency toward grand gestures. "Why?" "Because this is where our story began," he says simply. "It should remain part of our story." I look out at the peaceful lake, remembering the violent crash, the desperate rescue, the life-altering aftermath. I don't want to rebuild the cabin, I decide. That life is gone. He nods, waiting for me to continue. "But we could build something new," I suggest. "A summer home, perhaps. A place where future generations could learn to swim and sail and play the piano." His eyes warm at my implication. "Future generations?" I smile, taking his hand and placing it over my stomach. "Perhaps sooner than you think." His expression transforms, wonder and joy breaking through his usual controlled facade. He lifts me into his arms, spinning me in a circle as laughter, his and mine, echoes across the water. Later, as we sit on the shore planning our future home, Alessandro's phone rings. His expression darkens as he listens, and I know our peaceful moment has ended. "Business?" I ask when he disconnects. "Yes," he admits, no longer hiding the truth from me. "I need to go into the city." I nod, accepting this reality as part of loving him. "Be careful." "Always," he promises, pressing a kiss to my forehead. I have more reason than ever to return safely. As his security detail materializes to escort us back to the car, Alessandro takes my hand, his thumb brushing over the diamond ring he placed there a month ago. "Are you happy, Ellie?" he asks, a rare vulnerability in his voice. Despite everything, I consider the question, weighing the losses against the gains. My quiet, solitary life traded for one of complexity and passion. Safety exchanged for a different kind of security. Independence given up for a partnership I never imagined possible. "Yes," I answer honestly. Not despite everything, but because of everything. Because every choice, every moment, even the crash, even the fire, brought me exactly where I'm meant to be. His smile is like the sun breaking through clouds. With me. With you, I confirm, rising on tiptoes to kiss him as his men discreetly look away. We walk back to the waiting cars, his arm protective around my waist, my head resting against his shoulder. Behind us, the lake shimmers in the afternoon sun, witness to an ending that became a beginning. Before us stretches a future neither of us could have imagined, that fateful day when a plane fell from the sky and I pulled a drowning man to shore. Not a perfect future, not an easy one, but ours, forged in fire and water, sealed with a promise as binding as the vows we'll soon exchange. I glance up at Alessandro's profile, strong and determined, softened by the love I now recognize in his eyes whenever he looks at me. The Mafia boss and the piano teacher, an unlikely pair bound by fate, choice, and something deeper than both. I love you, I say, the words still new enough to taste sweet on my tongue. His arm tightens around me. And I love you, my Valkyrie, more than life itself. As we drive away from the lake, I don't look back. The past is written, its lessons learned. The future awaits, complex and challenging and filled with a joy I never dared to imagine in my solitary existence. Sometimes rescue comes in unexpected forms. Sometimes we save others only to find that we ourselves are saved. And sometimes, in the most unlikely circumstances, we discover that what we thought was an ending was merely the first chapter of a much greater story. Our story, still being written, one day at a time.